Many people may complain about what's not right in their community. Well, we have a solutions-oriented group here today, Mid-America Regional Council, who will give you 100 reasons why the community is a great place to live and also talk about the wonderful services that they have to offer. I'm Kimberly Warren. Hang on to your seat. You're in for a treat. You are watching Joy in Our Town. Marlene Nagel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Well, I'm sure you hear a lot about what's wrong with the community, but you're not taking none of that. You're a solutions-oriented group. Tell us about Mid-America Regional Council.
Well, we're basically an association of all the city and county governments in our greater Kansas City area, and our role is to build a stronger regional community, to help our local governments so that they can deliver programs and services effectively to their residents, helping plan our region's transportation system, addressing environmental challenges, public safety, so a variety of issues that help us in creating a stronger regional area.
With all the different areas that you're involved in as a regional council, where do you start first? You know, we know about the Head Start programs you're also involved in, and how do you prioritize which one of those programs will take precedent?
Well, you know, our board of directors, made up of local elected officials, they're really looking at the broader picture, and they recognize that building a strong community, you've got to have a good transportation infrastructure and good public transit services, but you always also have to have good public safety. You have to have services for more vulnerable populations like our young children and older adults. So in lots of ways, they're not saying one is necessarily more important than the other, but it's really trying to address a whole variety of programs and services.
Do the services target a specific populations, youth, adult, or seniors?
You know, many of our programs are targeted. You know, you heard about our early learning programs for very young children. We serve as the area agency on aging for the 5 Missouri counties, and so we serve older adults with meals and transportation and in-home services. We have a program that is targeted to working with agencies that serve the homeless population to try and reduce and hopefully eliminate homelessness in our community. Our transportation system really is serving all ages, but we do look at special transportation needs of, again, of kind of more vulnerable populations, but we're planning for trails and bicycle facilities as well as public transit and roads and highways.
Wonderful. Marlene, tell us how the layperson would become involved in voicing their concerns or their solutions to M.A.R.C, because how many public officials, who sits on your committee or your council right now, and then how can just a layperson or a regular resident be involved?
So we have a 33-member board of directors made up of local elected officials, and then we have over 40 different committees and task forces that work on different projects and issues. We also have some volunteer opportunities if someone wants to help us in serving older adults, or in we have a medical reserve corps to help address community issues like disasters. But then from time to time, for example, we do a long-range transportation plan, and we're right now we're doing a new public transit plan for the community, looking at how can we improve public transit services to better meet the needs of people who need to get to work or healthcare or educational facilities. And so people can get involved by voicing their opinions, their views about what our community needs to have a better transportation system.
Wonderful. What are some of the 5 and 10-year goals or plans? What's on your strategic agenda?
Well, for public transit, today we find that less than 20% of all the jobs in our metro area are served by public transit, and we want to double that.
Wow.
We want more jobs to be accessible for people who don't have access to a private automobile. We coordinate the region's 911 system, and we know that our residents need to be able to text and use other technology to reach public safety in times of emergency, so we're working on improvements to the 911 system.
Wonderful.
We coordinate traffic signals around the metro area so that as you travel from one community to the next, hopefully your travel is not stopped at every red light, and we'd like to improve and expand on that technology. So in lots of ways, we're looking at improving various ways that people live and work in this community.
What do you have to say to those that are watching Joy in Our Town today that may say, I'm not going to show up to a meeting, nothing's going to change, we've already told them to fix this problem, and I don't think my voice or my concerns matter?
Well, we would say that local communities and our regional organization really do want to hear from people. We can't improve the community if we don't know what the problems are and what people desire in the way of changes or aspirations for the future. And so we really encourage people to get involved and to lend their voice. And they can do it online, they can do it at meetings, in lots of ways that respect their time and interests.
Well, let's put some information up if you would like to be a part of the Mid-America Regional Council, or M.A.R.C, and find out when they meet and what are their different topics that they are talking about to enhance the quality of life for our community. The information is right there. They're located at 600 Broadway, right here in Kansas City, Missouri. You could also give them a call at 816-474-4240. That's 474-4240. Their website is www.marc.org. That's marc.org. Well, tell us, do you think that M.A.R.C is unique just to this Midwest area, or have you seen other such like coalitions and councils springing up all over America? Do you get to see what they are doing, or is this unique just to our area?
Actually, across the nation, there are regional councils of government, agencies similar to ours, that are operating in virtually every large urban area, because we know that where there are multiple cities and counties, and in our case, the state line, there's a need for cooperation, for working together to take advantage of opportunities and to solve problems.
I know you've been with M.A.R.C for some time, and you wrote the blueprint, right? Can you tell us what's going on across the nation and how you all are able to share what's going on here, maybe what's unique here?
One area that we work on is Homeland Security, and so we work with public safety, public health, hospitals, lots of groups in our community to make sure that we are prepared and able to protect our citizens and to respond to disaster events, whether they're natural like ice storms and tornadoes, or whether they're man-made terrorist events. And we're seeing that that is the experience across the nation, that communities are working together, agencies are working together.
Marlene, in this society where we have the internet and social media and everyone has a cell phone, sometimes it seems like it should be easier to engage and connect people. How are you all engaging the youth, and are there opportunities for the youth to be engaged in civic matters and matters of education?
You know, from time to time, different programs that we have had, we have involved youth in advisory ways. We use a lot of social media, and we have an air quality public education program, because our region from time to time, especially in the summer, is challenged with air pollution problems. And so we reach out to youth to help educate them and engage them, as well as recycling and some of the other environmental issues.
Do you think technology has become a beneficial tool, or sometimes it's cumbersome because people don't want to come out of their homes and sit around the table and talk?
You know, it has been very beneficial as a way to reach larger numbers of people, but we do recognize that segments of our population don't have internet access or don't have access to you know, to using that technology, and so we have to look for many different ways to reach out to our community and to engage them, whether it's sort of the low-tech, personal touch, or whether it's through the more modern technology means.
Wonderful. With seniors who are sometimes isolated, depending upon where they live in the community, and with technology, what are some of the current trends that we're using with M.A.R.C or that you see across the nation to engage that population?
We are seeing that more and more seniors are becoming comfortable using technology, and it's helping to connect them. And we're seeing a lot of advances in healthcare that are helping to connect seniors to make sure that they're able to live comfortably and healthy in their homes. But we're also very involved in providing services to seniors to help get them out of their homes, get them involved at senior centers and in different activities so that they can remain social, become part of the fabric of the community, social activities, and hopefully that helps them to thrive in their home.
As the Director of Community Development, Marlene, if the world were yours, what would you like to see happen?
Gosh. Well, we would like to see healthcare improvements that allow people to live healthier lives in our community. We'd like to see an end to homelessness, whether it's for children and youth and their families or for veterans. We'd like to see improvements in our public transit system so that we can better meet the needs of people. We'd like to work with communities to create places that are more vibrant and walkable. We'd like to see a continuation of a growing economy. We'd like to see a better educated workforce. So there's a lot of issue areas that as a community we need to continue to work toward, but the very positive aspect of that is that people are at the table with their sleeves rolled up, really working hard to make this a better place for all of us to live.
Wonderful. In closing, we want to thank our special guest, Marlene Nagel. Please come back again.
Thank you.
Who has been representing the M.A.R.C or the Mid-America Regional Council. The information is right there if you would like to see if their services are appropriate for you or if you would like to become involved in finding solutions to enhance the quality of life for our region. They're located at 600 Broadway Boulevard, Kansas City, Missouri. The number is 816-474-4240. That's 474-4240. They also have a website with much information on there about all of the programs and their committees, and that is marc.org. That's www.marc.org. I'm Kimberly Warren, and we want to thank each of you for watching TBN's Joy in Our Town.
KTAJ TV 16 would like to encourage you to partner with TBN in collecting items for a local outreach ministry. The Grace House, located at 2638 Lafayette in St. Joseph, is accepting your gently used clothing and household items. Right now, the biggest need is for hats, gloves, blankets, and coats. All items can be dropped off at the Grace House Tuesdays from 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. and on Thursdays and Saturdays from 7 a.m. until noon. Please call 816-262-9401 for more information.
If you were not able to attend the Kansas City local government meeting recently, you will want to stay tuned as we air very important excerpts from this meeting pertaining to local civic issues being discussed in our community. Please join us now as we watch the meeting.
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the next ordinance item on the agenda.
Ordinance 150741, authorizing a $3 million amendment with the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority to provide regular transit services and share of fare transportation for elderly and disabled residents of Kansas City, and appropriating $3 million from the unappropriated fund balance of the KCATA sales tax fund to the KCATA sales tax account.
Thank you, Mayor Rudin. Good to see you. And Patty Hildebrand, good to see you
Good morning, Chairman Reed, members of the committee. I'm Patty Hildebrand with the Public Works Department. My first appearance before you, but welcome to City Hall. I'm in the Public Works Department. One of my roles is to serve as your transit liaison. With me today is Joe Reardon, the President and CEO of the KCATA. The ordinance before you talks about, authorizes the Public Works Department to execute a contract amendment with the ATA and authorizes us to allocate an additional appropriate and expend an additional $3 million. I wanted to back up a little bit and give you a little history on what we do with the ATA and our annual contract. Sherry, did you hand those extra handouts out? Before you is kind of the history of our contracts with the ATA. I've been serving as a transit liaison for about 9 years now. And we have two primary funding sources for transit service in Kansas City. One of them is the city's public mass transportation fund. The other, more recently adopted, is a sales tax specifically for the KCATA that we process and then transmit to them each year through our annual contract. The ordinance today actually addresses the second of the two funds, the KCATA sales tax. Last year we were fortunate that our sales tax revenues came in higher than expected. So when we do our annual contract right after the budget's adopted each year, we base our contract amount on the budget projections from the city's budget office. And so when revenue projections exceed what those projected revenues were going to be, we have an obligation with this particular tax to then do an amendment and transmit the full amount of additional revenue to the ATA. This year, fortunately, that amount is $3 million. So this ordinance today will authorize us to execute a revised agreement, a contract amendment with the ATA, and give them an additional one-time payment of $3 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to transit or the ordinance specific.
Mr. Reardon, would you like to add anything?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. It's great to be with you here this morning. I do want to let you know that we have others from the KCATA with me this morning, including our board chair, Robbie Mackinnon, that's sitting behind me. Other staff members that are here today are Dick Gerald, Michael Graham, Cindy Baker, and Pam Curtis, and we, as always, stand ready to answer any questions or facilitate information to you all in a spirit of cooperation and working with you on transit in Kansas City. We're very excited at KCATA. We are on a path of enhancement and integration of the system. Hopefully some of you are somewhat aware of that, and we're meeting individually with you to talk through what we're working on, but that would include enhancements that fully integrate the system with other communities, and we've, in short order in this year, we now have management agreements with Johnson County and as well as the City of Independence for their operations, and we're integrating all of our operations into the Ride KC branding, which will be a further integration with the streetcar, which we have cooperative agreements with them as well. Later this month, you'll see an enhancement to the Ride KC website that will begin to allow users to trip plan across all of the different areas of Kansas City as well as the modes. That'll include streetcar ultimately. We're working on an improvement in our fare system, which will be something that happens in the first quarter of 2016. And we're working on some major capital projects in cooperation with you, including the Prospect Max line that we're working through the federal process for funding to move that down the line. And further reports to you, hopefully, over the course of the year will be how we're leveraging our abilities around enhancing the system with technology as well. So that in a brief nutshell, Mr. Chairman and council persons, that's what we're working on in cooperation with you, and we look forward to continuing our efforts with you around transit in Kansas City.
Any questions from the committee? Yes, sir. Vice Chair McManus.
I was just looking at the fact sheet and comparing it with the contract funding history. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure I understand kind of the figures.
There's an error on the fact sheet.
Okay. Well, I'm just fulfilling the duty of my predecessor.
You're good. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to give you the full listing.
Yeah.
The fact sheet, we were originally, because it's FY15 funding, I put the wrong years on the fact sheet as the FY15 contract.
Got it. Okay.
Lots of lawyers, we have to amend the FY16 contract because that's our current contract. And so the correct amounts would actually reflect the current year's FY16 contracts. So what's on the fact sheet reflects FY15 money, would be the second row from the bottom, and looks like those got amended during the process as well. So
the contract funding history sheet, this one is the...
These are the correct amounts for the history of all the funding based on ordinances. So I've pulled all of these numbers for you off of our existing ordinances and the actual contracts.
And so the figure we're looking at is it the 2080 figure in the first column?
The 2080 is our public mass transportation. Whoa, looks like the header got cut off too. Sorry about that. The first column is your public mass transportation fund. The second column that we're looking at, the 2290 for the accountants in the room, is the ATA sales tax. So we are actually increasing that $24,672,000. That one is actually increasing by $3 million.
And so the final number would be, after this ordinance, would be 27?
Yes.
Okay.
And so our total contract for this year would be $55,982,000.
Okay, a couple of questions that I may have, and one is about service, but is this something that could have been held off until perhaps January or May of next year or so when we notice this, or why are we doing it now that we've noticed, I guess, that we didn't project the funds?
When the revenue projections we're actually, the departments right now are starting to work on your budget that you will adopt in March. And so the revenue projections that we receive and the contract that we execute with the ATA, there's some time lag there, but it's a large agency and a lot of hoops to go through. And consequently, when the budget is adopted, in the fiscal year starts May 1st, the finance department has to close out the books, and as soon as they give us a final tally on what the actual revenues were for the previous fiscal year, it's at that point that we reconcile what the contract amount was based on revenue projections versus revenue actuals, and then we determine what that difference is. And some cases it's a minor amount, but when it's $3 million, it's a significant amount. We immediately move to roll into a new contract amendment and make that allocation. It took us a little while to get the final revenue numbers, and as soon as we did, we worked through the terms of the new contract amendment and put forth the resolution or the ordinance to bring to your committee.
Well, I appreciate that, and I guess want to ask about maybe services, and I appreciate Mayor Reardon for mentioning the importance of a number of things that KCATA is working on, and appreciate the staff who are here as well. I guess that really does show some of the importance. Share Fair, which is the image that's in front of us here, is something that we hear quite often. We may get calls from residents who are not being picked up on time, or all sorts of things. But maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the enhancements that you all have been able to make. I believe it's about 90% of customer service has been, good. Could you talk a little bit about Share Fair for us?
One of the efforts ongoing, really by way of the direction of our commission, and before I even came into the position, was to enhance paratransit services throughout the Kansas City region. And that includes everything from increasing our on-time performance, which is in the 90%, above 90% range. And in fact, if you look at other paratransit operations, we compete very well in on-time performance. We always want to get to 100%. That's our goal for sure. But the system today is operating better on on-time performance than it has in the past. The one-call, one-stop shop for qualifications for paratransit ADA services is an enhancement that has occurred. And then an integration of the system so that if someone is traveling from Kansas City, Missouri to Johnson County or to Independence, that they're not having to figure out what jurisdiction or who they need to call or how to assemble a ride, that one call in allows all of those things to happen seamlessly for them. So when we talk about building a more seamless system in our fixed route, it really has started with building a more seamless system with ADA and paratransit, because quite frankly, the disconnection has been most evident for paratransit and ADA users. And so we've seen really our first steps in integration have been in paratransit ADA, and that enhancement continues to occur, to make it easier, really focusing on the rider, to make it easier for them to schedule the service, not have to worry about jurisdictions, get to work or to whatever they need, and also to make sure that we have a more reliable on-time performance, that when we say we're going to show up, that we show up within that on-time window and they're able to get to where they need in a timely way. So I appreciate, Mr. Chairman, you mentioning that. It's definitely a driving force at KCATA. That began before I came to the agency, but I want to tell you that it's an area where we have seen great leaps of progress forward. More to do. We're not there yet by any means, but we have seen progress in that area.
I appreciate that. My late grandfather, who's probably passed away maybe 2.5 years ago, I've shared this many times, and probably over the past years or so on the council, in the latter years of his life, used share fare because he became disabled and couldn't get around. And I know it was, for my grandparents, a really good way to kind of get around, and my grandmother not having to lug them and pick them up and put them down and in the car and all those things, and it was a way to get around that they appreciated. And then people like Miss Lizzie, who is serving on the board and advocating for so many elderly and folks with disabilities currently. You know, I mean, it's really important for them if they're going to a doctor's appointment or if they're going to church on a Sunday or whatever the case may be for using it. It's important that they're getting their own time. And so those 10% that may not be on time, it's important that we are looking at those individuals, because who knows? I remember when I met Miss Lizzie, she was out in the rain one day, and I waited with her until a share fare bus came. And so, I mean, that's probably one of those, and this was at least 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but, you know, that could be considered one of those 10%. So.
Reliability of the system is paramount, Mr. Chair, and we take that seriously at the KCATA. And we also understand that, you know, for those that are elderly or ADA eligible, that, you know, that this paratransit service can allow them to really have the independence and mobility in life that all of us take for granted every single day. And it's an extremely important function of the agency, and an important function all of us work together on, to make sure that we're empowering people to live their lives independently and to live their lives as they choose to. And this is an extremely important way and method for that to occur, and we take it seriously.
Once again, you have just watched a Kansas City government meeting on TBN TV 16. You may view the meeting in its entirety on the internet at kcmo.gov, or if you need more information, please contact the City of Kansas City at 816-513-1313.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.